We conclude the fourth letter, bringing everything together today. Speaking about charity, tzedakah, and how powerful it is. How's it powerful? Because we work hard for our money, and money can buy us our personal vitality, food and everything else. It gives us vitality, gives us life. And I'm ready to, and the key, just a reminder from yesterday's class, the key is when giving, that you're giving unstintingly, right? Which means not holding back, and because you're doing it with joy. So, now that I didn't really speak about amounts, and it's, each person needs to figure out, even though, there is Jewish law and about 10% and so on, but that's not the point over here. It's about an attitude, a disposition, and how we're engaged in giving that tzedakah. And what does that do? It allows that the inner heart that expresses the core of my soul can actually be revealed in a time of prayer. In a time of prayer, that I can have a real connection to God, a real connection, not one that is, oh, look how beautiful this is, right? Not one out of awareness, self-awareness, but beyond that, just connected. You just are. As we went into great length explaining this, and a couple days ago in particular, and that is touching the inner part of the heart, as opposed to self-awareness, that it touches the exterior, the external part of the heart, through meditation, mindfulness, contemplation, thinking of God's presence in the world. How everything is orchestrated in a heavenly way. God's greatness and our relationship, that through that contemplation feeds the heart. But it's through an awareness, a knowledge, understanding that is feeding the heart, rather than something that is intrinsic to the heart. That's what we've explained at great length. So, now the Alter Rebbe is going to tie this in to the verses that we began with at the beginning of this letter, and bringing it all together. So we had a verse in Tehillim, chapter 85 in Psalms, that tzedek lefanav yahalech, that righteousness / charity shall go before God, before Him, right? So it's important, the Hebrew over here, because the translation doesn't do justice, because you don't have, so the charity, it says that you give. So it's not the charity itself that goes before God, but it says yahalech. Yahalech means it's causing something to go. Yelech means it goes, right? But it doesn't say the charity itself, it goes before God. And of course, what does it mean before God? What does that mean? As opposed to God, let's say. So the Alter Rebbe explains that Yahalech means that charity is causing something to go before God. What's it causing? It's causing our heart, the inner dimension of our heart, that part of the heart that is beyond self-awareness, beyond knowledge. It's causing that part of me, my heart, which is an expression, that inner heart, the expression of the core of my soul. That's what it's causing. And what's it causing? To go before God. So the word in Hebrew is lifanav. Interesting word, lifanav. It comes from the pnei, which means face. Panim in Hebrew means face. Pnei, the face of, meaning the face of God. What does it mean, face? Face means, well, when you talk to somebody, um, if you're insecure, what happens when you talk to somebody? You don't look them in the face, right? Kind of look at the ground, or you look to the side. Um, it's hard to look someone in the face when you're talking to them. I mean, can be hard. I say it is hard. Can be hard because when you look somebody in the face, really what you're doing is looking deep into side of them, because the face, and the eyes in particular on the face, is the window to the soul. So it's a deeper connection. So the phrase over here that this charity that we're doing is causing, right, something to go before God, meaning to the inwardness of God, right, to the face of, and we translate lifanav, meaning before Him, but it's of Him, right, meaning the inwardness of God. So this is what the charity is doing. It's going. It's making something go. Me, the inwardness of my heart that is revealed, that it can go to the inwardness of God. Whoa, that's pretty powerful. Okay, so what's the result of that? What does that mean? So what does that mean? I mean, it sounds very poetic and it's beautiful, and so on. So then, well, so then he quotes from another verse, also from Tehillim, continuing the verse which began, continuing the verse of Tzedek Lefanav Yahalech, that the righteousness causes to go before the inwardness of God. So the verse continues and says, V'yosim l'derech Hashem pamav, that the person sets now their steps towards the way of God. So again, so the way of God. And what is that way of God? What is the way of God? Meaning, as the verse says, V'alachta b'drochav, as in Deuteronomy, the verse says, and you shall go in the ways of God. So go. There's the going again. In other words, the charity is going to cause your inwardness of your heart, the core of your soul to be connected to the inwardness of God, and that will now cause, because of that profound connection, that what the charity causes, that's pretty awesome, that now you actually walk and go in God's ways. You become God-like, divine. And as the verse, Hashem Elokeichem telechu, another verse in Deuteronomy, that you shall go, again the word go, right, after the Lord your God. So what does that mean? It means what you're doing is creating now, through this act of being charitable unstintingly, with joy, right? Even if you don't have it, it's difficult, and whatever that you are giving, you're doing in an unstinting manner, right? Again, what that means, and for you personally, that's we take that up in therapy, not in Tanya therapy, but not here. Here it's the teachings. So whatever that means to do, going a little above what your comfort zone is, that would mean unstintingly. If it's hard for you to give this, so when you get above and do it beyond, so then that's unstintingly, and you do that with joy. That's kind of the litmus test over here, right? So you're going now, and so what the Alter Rebbe says, that every mitzvah now that you do, whatever mitzvah, whether it's Shabbos, lighting Shabbos candles, the study of Torah, which is equivalent to them all, it's now going through the same pathway that is led by this act of being charitable. So everything that we do, every mitzvah that we do, all the Torah study we're doing right now, Torah study, right? Through the that act of unstinting, joyful giving that allows my inner heart in other words, it sheds all the exterior of my heart, that there's many layers of the heart that cover over, that we need to cut away. And we're cutting away through this act of charity, as we explained at great length yesterday, right? Because you put blood, sweat, and tears to make the money, and it's the money that can, enhance your life. And now what are you doing? More important to you is the enhancement of your connection to God. So you give unstintingly with great joy. So now everything else you do follows with it, comes through that gateway and ascends to the inwardness from my heart to God, to the inwardness of God. That's pretty powerful. Now, this is even greater, and this is the key of, I don't know the key, but this is greater than the ascent that would be accomplished through my mindfulness. We live in a world today that mindfulness is, very key and important. Yeah, absolutely. And we spoke about it, and it has great value because the contemplation that we have about our relationship with God and the awareness and the knowledge of that, of our connection and God's greatness as creator and beyond that, right, is important and great. However, it doesn't come to at all to the act of giving. To the act of giving here. Because the act of giving charity is coming from within. It's of me. Mindfulness is just my mind, so to speak. And a higher part of me, my mind, as opposed to my physical reality of money. Right? That money kind of, what's the word, kind of encapsulates that reality of things in my life. And this, then, the Alter Rebbe says, is causes peace. As the verse says, Pada b'shalom nafshi, that my soul was redeemed in peace. And our sages explain that tzedakah is an act of loving kindness. It's also known as peace. Well, simply, to fuse. What's peace? Peace means there's two opposites. They come together, right? In other words, like two nations that are warring at each other, now they come in peace. So two opposites, right? In the sense that they're warring against each other. They're against. So what are the two opposites? Heaven and earth, giver and taker, more and less. Well, tzedakah, there's a person who has more, the person who has less. One has more is the giver, and one has less is the taker. Opposites, right? Giving is giving, taking is a complete opposite thing. Like breathing in, breathing out. Two different, yes, both breathing, but two different motions or two different expressions in the breath. Heaven, earth, opposites. Heavenly, divine. Earth, disconnected. So the act of charity is bringing about peace, meaning a fusion between giver and taker, between the one who has more and the one who has less. Well, there's more of a parity now, right? There's heaven and earth are more closely linked now through the act of charity. And as the verse expressly says, my soul refers to the Shekhinah, right? That my soul is redeemed. My soul. Well, that means the core of my soul, which is the Shekhinah, the divine presence in my soul, that is a spark that in my soul that is now created Shalom, Pada b'nafshi nafshi, redeemed in peace is my soul, meaning the inwardness of my soul, the Shekhinah, the divine spark that is there. And it's indeed through charity that creates that. Right? As we say Shalom Bimraimav. And through this charity, what it is doing, the inner heart that's expressed in that our soul is a part of God, that is expressed in the inner heart, as opposed to the outer layer of the heart that is covering over, right? That is engaged. The outer part of the heart is engaged in, self-directed things that are bound in klipa, a negative source. And here we're creating this peace through the act of charity. And the Alter Rebbe says this is specifically, even more so, especially the case of charity when it comes to the land of Israel. Right? When it comes to the land of Israel. Because that's the charity of God. That's directed to the divine name of God, as it says, the attention of the Lord your God is constantly upon it, the land of Israel, right? Delivered upon the land. And as that charity stands forever on the fountain of life of God Almighty that gives life to the land, radiates there. And with that, the Alter Rebbe ends off, Amen Ken Yiratzon, Amen, may it be His will. This is, as the Alter Rebbe was collecting for the very poor in the land of Israel, so he often makes reference to that. And that is today's class. So let's unpack a bit, bring it down to something that might be important in a personal way. So mentioned a point about mindfulness. This big rage about being mindful, living in the moment, and I think it's, obviously it's a wonderful thing, as the Alter Rebbe says, the mindfulness and the contemplation that we have of our relationship to God feeds our heart and brings a love and awe to God as a result, and very important. But it doesn't touch the inner heart. But tzedakah does, charity does. Why? Why would that be? You would think mindfulness is going to bring you to the peacefulness, right? So I think the reason is because that mindfulness, it's wonderful, but in the end it's all about you. It's about you and your equanimity, you and your sense of peace, right? That you feel connected, and that's external, as opposed to something that is much more real peace, right? Real peace is not about a tranquility. It's not about, because think about it, your mind is all over the place and you want to now be at the peace. It's all very much about me and my feeling at peace, right? Which we all want to have that, but think about it. Then it's about me feeling at peace, not about me making peace. When you give tzedakah, right, it's about you making peace, as we said, right? Peace of two opposites, a fusion of two opposites, the giver, the taker, right? The giver, the taker, the heaven and earth. The one who has more, the one who has less. And peace really is about us creating that fusion, because again, peace is the concept of what's the concept of two opposites fused together. So when you give unstintingly, with joy, as a giver, the recipient, I want to find something here just to express this idea very clearly to you. To bring this idea out, do that. When we give in an unstintingly way, a beautiful way, give me just a moment, I have to find this. It's really beautiful. Just to bring out the idea. Thank you for your patience. I just want to bring out this idea of what it means to create peace. And it's from the very letters themselves. That's the beauty. The beauty is here we took words from King David and his Psalms, took words from the Torah, and dissected the words, the root of the words, the meaning of it, and we come to a beautiful concept that we've been explaining the last few days, and now we see it actually in the words, which is remarkable. So what's real peace? It's saying that it's doing tzedakah for others, right? For those who have less. So give me just a moment. I'm just going to the printer to okay. So let me share with you. Those, sorry, on Clubhouse, you're not going to see this. But for those who know, Gimel, Daled. The two letters. Gimel, here's a Gimel, Daled. Third letter, 3. And the fourth letter. The word Gimel means gomel. It comes from the word gomel, means to do. What to do? Do what? There's a lot of things to do. And look at the letter Gimel. It's a stick figure of a person who's got their right foot forward in action, like, right? Bent a little forward, and in action mode to gomel, to do. To do what? Well, they're right next to each other, Gimel Daled, to go to the Daled. The Daled, it comes from the word delet, which means door. See here? It's closed. The door is closed. Open on this side, but it's closed over here. So the gomel has to go to do for the Daled to the door, to open the door. Dalet also comes from dalus, which means poor. Oh, this Gimel, stick figure of a person, it's an action mode, has to come and go do, open the door for the poor. In other words, don't wait till they ask for something. You come and you bring them. You come, open the door for them, and give them their needs unstintingly with great joy. The letters actually look like the subject we're talking about. This person, the poor person, has their back to the one who's giving. Why? Of course, someone who doesn't have, who's less, who's a taker, is feeling embarrassed, feeling less than. So what's peace? It's when you can fuse the two together, you give unstintingly with joy, that you are opening the door for someone else before they come forward to you and put out their hand or express their need, and you're there to give. Go. Gomel. Chasadim. Gemilat chasadim. Acts of loving kindness. That's the Gimel. And Gimel is the third letter. What's peace? Number 3. Two opposites. Comes the third that encompasses two opposites and fuses them together. That is the act of giving. Specifically, to do, to give. It's all in the letters themselves that bring it across. The Alter Rebbe's teachings over here. So, when you're doing for another, then the focus is not about me and my self-fulfillment. And when we're doing it unaware of self-fulfillment, not like, oh, need, I remember my wife was once in a group, a bunch of ladies from different types of religious background, and they were, in the community here, engaged with others who didn't come from religious backgrounds. They're kind of sharing, and they said, yeah, we do loving kindness, and we do it because, first of all, we never know. Maybe we're going to be in a position that we're going to need the act of loving kindness. We're going to be, need something from someone, and we're going to be on the receiving end. So, give now, because you may yourself be on the receiving end. That's self-awareness, and that's not touching your inner heart. And you don't give unstintingly with joy. You're doing it as a means to some other end, right? Now, that doesn't mean there isn't a value in that. There is. But that's not the discussion that we're having over here. The discussion we're having over here is how you're touching the inner heart, right? The core of your soul being expressed. That's very different. So it's a giving that it's not a focus about me and my feeling good through the act of giving. It's about the act of being there for the other and sensing their need and providing their need. That's truly charitable, and it's like kind of forgot yourself. You forgot yourself because there is no self. There's no awareness of self. So it's just awareness of the devotion to be there for the other, open the door for them, for the one who's got less. That creates real peace. That's the concept we're speaking about here. That's really what it means to do for another. So not like, they're the charity case, and thank God I'm the giver. God has blessed me that I'm in the position to be the giver, and I'm very thankful to God that I'm not, in the position that I need to be the taker. So there's not real peace over there. I mean, even that is, again, because just the fact that you give, right? Just the fact that you give, I don't want to, put that down, whatever the intent and so on is, there's a value, no question, just to bring that across, someone comes to the door and is in need, and a truly person who is in need and says, I'm sorry, I'm going to now I'm going to a march to save the world, whatever, you know, to save all the dolphins in the world that are coming extinct, you know, all those white, well, whatever. Right, and I'm sorry, I'm too busy. You know, come back another day and I'll, you know, but I'm busy saving the world right now. Save the world? Save this person. Or as opposed to, person comes in and you give it to, and you were really nice to the guy, but you didn't, you know, oh, I'm so sorry, I would love to help you, but you know, you see, I'm busy. I got all these placards that I got to carry now and bring to the rally, and you know, I got to save the world. You know, come back. So sweet. But it was no act of charity. As opposed to the person who comes to the door and you tell them off, you know, get a job, get your life together, you know, but you gave the guy $10, or you gave him 2 sandwiches, whatever, right? Which one's better? Obviously the second one. The guy was starving, got 2 sandwiches, got $10 to buy 2 sandwiches. He was told off and wasn't, not, of course, don't tell the person off, encourage them, build them up. Maybe sometimes they need that, whatever. It's all a metaphor to bring out the idea that the act of charity is more important than all that feelings of you know, so kind and so loving and da-da-da, but you didn't give because you're just busy saving the world. So I don't want to take away from that, but I want to put this, and remember that that's not the discussion over here. The discussion is how you're touching that inner heart, right? And that means that you're giving in such a way that you're creating peace. So like the gimel, go, right? The whole idea is goimel, to do, to go, right? And to act. What's the ultimate act? That everything is going through, as creating peace, that you're going in the way of God, going, that is going before God in the inwardness of God, is giving charity in this manner. Because I lose myself in this way of giving. It's not about me. It's not about I am, you know, oh, I'm so lucky. I'm so mindful and aware that how lucky I am. I'm the giver. No, you're not thinking that. That's not you're not the focus. That's the mindfulness. And there's a place for that we need to be mindful. How God has given me the purpose and everything to be the one who can give because I've got something to give and so on, right? And there's a place for that because we said there's a mindfulness, but that's touching the external part of the heart, not the inner heart. The inner heart is touched that over here is that we kind of lose ourselves. We're not aware of self. We're just aware of the need of the other. That's, you know, that's a very lofty level, you know, and the concern for the other. And it's not about me. It's about the tzedakah. It's about the doing. It's about the giving. And that will express itself. That's how it's going to express itself, that you're doing it unstintingly and with joy. That's how it's going to express itself. Again, it's not the question of how much and what, you know. You're going to give to the needs of that person in unstinting, joyful way, as best as you can. Right? Again. That's the take home for me is over here that distinction between, you know, mindfulness of having tranquility, inner peace, which is not real peace. It's a peace, but it's all self-directed, and therefore it's not the and there's a value to that, of course. Again, I'm not, you know, the Alter Rebbe spoke about the mindfulness and the meditation about God's greatness, our relationship with God, and right. So there's absolutely a value to that, and we need to have that. We can't just have the inner quality. We have to have the outer heart also engaged. We need both things. But the novel idea over here is how that we can reach to the inner core of my heart. That is an expression of the core of my soul. And that is, again, through the tzedakah. And that's, you know, my understanding. questions and answers, comments and thoughts. I'm going to first look on Davida. Just give me an idea of who I need. Question marks before you ask, please. So that way I know to look at the comment, because, it's already like over 80 comments. Soon there'll be much more. So I need that help. Oh, Susan. Some people give and give. Then when you're in need, no one gives. How do you explain this? I haven't met anybody that gave so much that they were left with nothing and they were complaining. I never met such a person. So Susan, I guess you have, but I haven't. And I think someone who's really, truly giving in this way that we're talking about, unaware, not self-absorbed in their giving. You can be very self-absorbed in your giving. You can be very self. Excuse me, just 1 second.
Sorry for interrupting.
Giving in such a manner. So, if when you're giving in such a way, I don't think there's ever going to be someone who's going to complain. This kind of giving, you're never going to complain. Oh, I gave too much. It's not in the cards. Now, someone who gave and and did it with such expectation of gaining something. So then that's a problem, I guess. David, I see that you're here, and I see a question. So am I going to read I'm going to read your question over here.
Or I could just.
Go ahead. Okay. I can't David. I just, if you don't mind, I just need to get through the Facebook questions first, because then I lose it on the feed. So just give me a moment if you don't mind. Okay. I'm sorry, because often I lose on the feed. So, Trig. Is showing gratitude a form of charity, emotional rather than monetary? No. Why is that charitable? God is charitable to you and you're saying thank you? That's not charity. That is gratitude. Gratitude is, I don't see how that's an act of giving. That's a proper response. That's a proper response to when you've been given something. So when God does something for you, we need to acknowledge and say thank you. I'm not clear why there would be a thought that would be an act of giving. Giving, your humility, accepting that which has been given. That's the acknowledgement of saying thank you, right? I think that's the way I would understand it. Okay, I don't see any other questions right now. Go ahead, David. Sorry that
Sorry, I apologize for interrupting.
It's not a problem. There's no interruptions in life.
So just basically, I wrote it on Facebook, but basically, we're in the middle of davening. We're at a part that typically we're not supposed to be interrupting. I mean, there's places you can answer, and places you're not supposed to. Now, let's say someone is coming around to collect money at that point, and maybe they're not going to come back. Should you stop and give to them? I'm saying not in the point of being during the Amida, you can't do it. But I don't know. Before that, should you give them some charity at that point? I mean, or do you wait because you had your opportunity right then?
If you can stay focused and give, then definitely the better thing is to give. That's what I would suggest.
So even you just give it and just don't talk. Just give them the money.
Yeah, if you're in a place where you can't talk, so you just give them a smile, and yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay. Any other questions? Any comments? All right, I guess we have clarity over here. That's amazing. Well, I think it is. It's pretty clear, profound, and Gishmak. See any questions over here? On Instagram, I don't see any questions. Loredana from Calgary. Welcome. Susan says now she understands why the poor remain silent, right? Their back is to the giver because they're ashamed. No one wants to take. Everybody wants to be the giver. But God created the world this way so we can create peace, equal the playing field. Which, by the way, just as a the uniqueness of the Torah and Jewish teachings. This is a very unique idea. Okay, Davida says, I know now that nothing is ours. We are tools from Hashem to do His ways. It's the joy of doing Hashem's will that permeates with us. Giving is true joy and connection. Very true. Eugenia, I know now that mindfulness does not touch my inner heart because it focuses on my needs. Real peace is created by giving tzedakah joyfully without thoughts about myself. By giving joyfully, we actively engaged in making peace as opposed to feeling peaceful. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Anybody else I know now? Liba, I know now that through giving tzedakah, especially without restriction and in joy, leads every mitzvah, henceforth, to go through the same path created by giving that tzedakah. Peace is thus created between giver and taker, more so than through our mindfulness. Very good. Excellent. Wow. You guys are good. And I know now that Tanya's definition of peace, shalom, is equal to shalom, complete, right, whole, as two pieces fused to one. All right, thank you. Very true. Jeff is with us from Akko, Israel. Beautiful. The recording will be, you'll have the recording here on Facebook. You can also get the recording, by the way, and if I can ask everybody to please help me for my YouTube station, youtube.com/Tanya Rabbi, to subscribe. Many of you have already, but I ask you, if you haven't, to please take the moment to do that. Davida, if you don't mind typing it in so everybody can get the link on Facebook, that would be great if you could do that. youtube.com/Tanya Rabbi. Subscribe, and there you get, all of the Daily Tanya and many other things. All the teachings are there. So if you could subscribe, that will help tremendously, because finding some difficulties through other platforms, and the YouTube needs to be developed. Reminder also today, Rambam at 12:45. Come and join us. That's on Zoom. And for now, we'll also be on Facebook, Chabad ZK. Okay. That's it, I guess. No other questions, comments. Beautiful. Michael, please share.
Shalom Aleichem.
Aleichem shalom.
Rabbi, think you already got used to me being on stage.
Go ahead, please share.
Yeah, I wanted to say that today's sermon, I think that's what you call it in English, has made me understand the problem I presented forth to you yesterday a lot better. The one how Tzedakah influences, teshuva and the inner heart. Now I have a question. I'm not sure if it's the right question to ask in this room. I might have poorly understood the term of inner heart, but it's the Shekhinah, right?
Yes.
I was in the room a couple of moments before you actually started this one, and we were talking about whether atheists have a moral compass. I was in a room with Muslims, and I said, well, of course they do have a moral compass. They might not believe in it, but they do have a spiritual moral compass. It's their very own godly soul and their very own inner heart that dictates them and tells them this is good and this is right. I was wondering if I gave the right explanation, or is there a different take at this?
So, I mean, it's correct what you're saying. Not necessarily is that what's guiding them, right? Because the divine soul that we have is covered over in the heart, is the inner heart we're talking about, and it's covered with many layers in the outside part of the heart, the klipa, the shell that covers over the Shekhinah, the divine spark in us. So not necessarily is that what's talking to them, and it may be their animal soul, or it could be their intelligent soul, their nefesh hamaskelis. So but correct you are in saying that they have that, and it could be that is what is guiding them. Maybe not, but it's a possibility, absolutely, as a result. So there is a truth to it, but that's a part of the story. Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
No, so Rabbi, what's your website? I've been looking for it for a couple of weeks now.
TanyaRabbi.com, or that's the website. But for the YouTube to subscribe, if everybody could do that, that would be greatly appreciated. That's youtube.com/TanyaRabbi. But the website is TanyaRabbi.com. Susan is asking, some people get... oh, no. Sorry. I went up too high. Usher has a question. Will we always feel resistant when faced with giving? No. We work on ourselves, and the more we incorporate these teachings, which, by the way, I have to mention, I'm surprised that and not as many people that I had hoped would be getting the Tanya Journal. I don't make money from it, so it's not about that. It's although Tanya Rabbi, things that we do obviously need money in order to fulfill what we want to fulfill, but it's not about that. It's actually about internalizing, owning, and really making the teachings something very very real. And I spoke to a few people just yesterday who've been journaling, and what a difference it's making. So the idea that Usher, you bring up, which is great, about the resistance that we can feel when faced with giving, right? And it's not so easy, which I get, all of us, again, it's easy maybe to give a quarter, a dollar. Everybody has their threshold. Up till here, it's easy for me. But that's not unstintingly. If I'm giving in that manner, that's not unstintingly. There's a threshold, and we know what it is. So when we write about what we just learned, everybody I speak to, they've internalized the message so much more for themselves. They're living with it so much more than when they're just listening. So again, I bring it up. When there'll be a fundraiser, it'll be a fundraiser. This is not a fundraiser. So it's not about even your tzedakah. But this is a way. I'm just answering, Usher, your question, how we can um, be less resistant, because when we take the teachings, write it down, it becomes much more integrated, a part of us, and we can review it. We look at it, we live with it so much more. Last question. I have to leave in a few moments. Eliana.
Thank you. In terms of shalom and having the giver and the taker, can we relate that to Shabbos? Is there a giver and taker in Shabbos and having that peace of Shabbos?
Well, yeah, Shabbos is the giver and we're the takers. We're the takers.
Well, that was easy enough.
Right? We're the takers. By the way, that's the whole idea, male and female. That's why everything in the universe is male, female, giver, taker. The male is the giver, the female is the taker, right? Physically, that's the way it is. That's the way it is in the genitals of the male versus the female, right? And everything is about this in the universe. So tzedakah and ultimate between the two is that there's a fusion, and that's what sexual relations is about, a fusion between the giver and the taker, the male and the female. All right, and that is all that's expressed by Shabbos is giving to us. We are the souls, the Jewish people are the Shekhinah, the feminine aspect of the divine, and we are the recipients. We are, right, every day of the week. First day has the second day, the third day has the fourth day, the fifth day has the sixth day, right? They pair up together. The seventh day doesn't have anybody. Shabbos doesn't have. Well, God said, I give you Israel, the Jewish people. That's who we pair up with. That's male, female, giver, taker, and a lot more on this concept to come. But that's it for the moment. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kedesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege, a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. A reminder, go to YouTube. A reminder, 12:45 for Rambam, learning the laws of Shabbos. It's amazing stuff. And a reminder of the Tanya Journal. Have a wonderful day. God bless you all.